Good evening and welcome to Education #1 Priority. I'm Dr. Mary Jane Garza. It's been 4 years, 4 long years, since we've seen the beautiful Blue Angels over our skies. Those beautiful maneuvers, those strategic flights that leave us all in awe. The Blue Angels schedule will start from March through November of 2015. They will travel to 36 cities. Guess what? The schedule shows that NAS-Corpus Christi on April 18th and 19th will have the privilege of having the Blue Angels. And the show is entitled Wings over South Texas. It is a very special celebration because it will mark the beginning of a special anniversary celebration as well for NAS-Corpus Christi. This evening I have the pleasure of having Admiral Roy Kelley, Chief Naval Training, and Commanding Officer Captain Steve Banta. Admiral Kelley will visit with us some facts about the Blue Angels. Captain Banta will tell us about the exciting activities that NAS-Corpus Christi has in store for us. Let us welcome Admiral Kelley and Captain Banta. Welcome to Education #1 Priority. So glad to have both of you here today.
Thanks, Dr. Garza. It's good to be here.
It's my pleasure. Well, let's begin first, Admiral, by just talking about your education, your training, and why the military.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that I came from a family that has no military background. So my parents, none of my siblings were in the military. None of my grandparents were in the military. So my interest began with aviation, and it was because of my father, who did some civilian flying. So that kind of started my goals, I guess, to eventually become an airline pilot. So best path to do that was to get a military flight training, and my intent was to go to college and get that training. Once I was complete with my obligation in the military, get out and join the airlines. As it turns out, that didn't quite happen that way. So 30 years later, I'm still in the Navy, and certainly feel very blessed with all the things that they provided as opportunities for me. So I left my hometown of Newark, Ohio, went to school at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, and got a bachelor's degree, came into the Aviation Officer Candidate School program with the Navy, and went through all the flight training, and I've had several deployments on aircraft carriers and opportunities to serve all over the U.S. and all over the world. I've recently taken over as a Chief of Naval Air Training here in Corpus Christi, where we have the privilege of serving with about 7,000 people. We've got about 700 aircraft and 5 different wings, and the Blue Angels that work for us.
And the Blue Angels as well. And I can tell you really enjoy what you do.
I do. I literally love the job. I do.
It's evident. Captain Banta, same question. Education, training, and why the military?
And Dr. Garza, thanks for having us here today. So I have kind of the opposite background, and so my father was in the Navy, and he was a pilot, and he flew A-6s. He did a couple tours in Vietnam, and so when I was growing up, all of my experience was at naval air stations, and it was just something that right away hit a chord for me. And from about the age of 8 or 9, I remember specifically saying that I wanted to get a commission and become a pilot. And a lot of folks kind of thought, well, you know, a lot of people want to be, you know, do what their dad did, and that'll fade, and you'll probably come up with some other ideas. But it never went away. And it was always something that I strove to do, and it was something that I followed very closely all through high school, and I went to college at the United States Naval Academy. Very honored to get to go there, and I did pick up upon my commissioning, I picked up a slot to go into aviation training. And interestingly enough, I did my aviation training right here in Corpus Christi, Texas. So here at Naval Air Station Corpus Christi in 1992, I flew with VT-27 boomers, and my primary training, and met my wife here in Corpus Christi. So this place has been very important for me, and my wife and I have always thought about, you know, how great it would be to get to come back here. And after 23 years of traveling the world, I was flying helicopters off of ships and carriers and frigates, and you know, all over the place, and it's been a great experience. And I was honored to command a squadron in Florida, and do a lot of other very interesting jobs, and the timing and the everything worked out perfectly. Then I got to come back here to Corpus Christi. It's kind of like a dream job, and it just worked out. And so now here we are, and so I'm blessed to get to be part of this community, and looking forward to the air show coming up in April.
I see the excitement. I know I'm excited. I haven't seen it in 4 years, and it's just so marvelous. But let's talk about that, Admiral. What's the mission of the Blue Angels?
The Blue Angels, the team is made up of about 16 officers and 115 sailors and Marines, and they are there to demonstrate the pride and professionalism of the Navy and the Marine Corps. And they do this about 36 different show sites throughout the year, and about 11 million people. So a huge audience, but realize that the Navy is predominantly based on coastal areas, just like we are here in Corpus Christi. So the Blue Angels give us an opportunity to be ambassadors to areas that we don't have those bases, and most of that's in the heartland of our country.
Oh, that's wonderful. Can you imagine? But now I've got to ask you a historical question, and that is, I know that people enjoy it. They don't ever get tired of seeing them because of those wonderful maneuvers, and they're so flawless. What's the history on this? How long has this been going on, and where did it first begin?
Well, Admiral Nimitz, Chester Nimitz, is probably the one person we can point the finger at and said, because of him, we have the Blue Angels. So in 1946, Admiral Nimitz stood up the demonstration team, the Navy flight demonstration team. And as a result, their first show was in Jacksonville, Florida. And on one of their visits, and they do show site visits before they actually get to the show for or get to the location for their air show. So they did a show site visit to New York, and it so happened that one of the Blue Angels that was there was reading the New Yorker magazine and saw an advertisement for a establishment that had the Blue Angels involved in the name. And they thought, that's a neat idea, blue and gold for our colors with the Navy, and so they termed the Blue Angels from then on.
Well, thank you for that, because I know we hear so much about them, but never the historical aspect of it. Now, the question that I get, well, how many jets are there? What type are they? How many are they bringing?
So they typically will bring 7 aircraft, 7 F-18s to each one of the shows, and they have 1 C-130 Hercules that they affectionately call Fat Albert. So the Fat Albert will bring majority of the maintainers and the support people, and then the air crew will fly the 7 airplanes, 6 of which will participate in the demonstration. Then we'll have 1 spare as a backup.
Okay, so they bring a spare just in case something?
They do. You know, these are fleet airplanes, and as such, they're subject to breaking, so things happen, and we have to replace them every once in a while.
Well, you already mentioned it, but one is that affectionate one called Fat Albert. How did it get its name?
Well, if you remember the 1970s cartoon, Fat Albert,
yes,
yeah, so the history goes back, and the pilots during that era had looked at the size and shape of the C-130 aircraft and said, you know, I think Fat Albert's a good title for that aircraft, and that's how it came about.
It's interesting the way the names have come about. New York City, look at a magazine, now in this, and the cartoon, great. Well, we'll come back and visit about pilots and training. But now I need to ask Captain Banta. Now, 2 days, April 18th and 19th. So what's going to be happening?
So the great thing about the air show when the Blue Angels come into town is they come in a few days prior, and they're able to set up and they're practiced before the actual air show. So the actual air show itself, the 18th and 19th, is a day, 2 days, where we will open the base and we will allow anyone to come on board. And this is an opportunity for us to kind of give back to the community. You know, the community here provides a lot of great support, but this is an opportunity for us to provide that the community can come on board and see what we do here. And what they're going to see has a lot to do with what the Admiral has just spoke about. So the Admiral's talking about, you know, some of the wings and the training that happens with naval aviation training. And so we've got Training Air Wing 4 here. We've got 4 air squadrons here that fly aircraft and flight school. And people here in Corpus Christi, you see them flying over all the time, these orange and white aircraft. And think about it, and you almost maybe don't even pay it any mind of, like, what are they doing, and how does this training occur? And so those aircraft will be flying in the air show. And those aircraft will also have static displays along the seawall where the air show is going to take place. And for those who have seen the air show here in the past, it's usually about every other year.
Right.
Of course, it has been 4 years since the air show.
4 long years.
4 long years. And but this year, as opposed to the recent future, we've kind of taken a step back. And in the farther past, the air show used to be along the seawall. And so that's where we're going to do it this time. And so with those familiar with the flight line that is down near the seawall,
Right.
where the CCAD hangars are, that's where the static display will take place. And along the bay, in Corpus Christi Bay, is where the aircraft will be flying by. So if you're anywhere near Texas A&M University, if you're anywhere near Ocean Drive, you will see these aircraft as they're setting up. But the best seats in the house are going to be on the seawall. We also have civilian acts that are coming.
Okay.
So it was military and civilian. We start off the day with the Golden Knights. It's a U.S. Army parachute jump team. We roll right into some military acts. We talked about Trade Wing 4 flying. Then after that, we have civilian acts. Many civilian acts are going to be here. Some world-renowned folks, including Bob Holland. He's a world-class,
Right.
world champion aerobatic pilot. So a lot of good acts coming for that. And we have, like I said, some military acts. And then it ends the day with the show. And the show is the Blue Angels. It starts off with Fat Albert and then the Blue Angels. And at the end of the day is a concert. So it will be a free concert. The entire day is free parking, free admission, and everything that you need, food, beverages, everything is provided there for purchase, but the parking and the admission is free of charge. And we just hope people will come and enjoy the base and enjoy the show.
Okay, because you've got my curiosity. So you've got Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
So the Blue Angels will be performing both Saturday
days.
and Sunday.
That's correct. The show itself is exactly the same on both days.
All right.
The only difference being that the concert is on Saturday.
All right. The concert is, what time will the concert
The
start?
concert starts at 4:30 p.m. as soon as the Blue Angels are complete.
All right. And everything will terminate by what time?
Well, by the time the concert's probably a few hours, but more importantly, maybe people want to know when it's going to start. And so let me tell you that I forgot to mention the gates will open at 8 a.m.
Okay.
In fact, we do colors here at 8 in the morning. So 8:01, the gates open. Everybody's welcome to come on board. We've got people to show you where to go and what you need, and so there won't be any problems. And the show starts promptly at 10 o'clock.
Okay. So basically, we could spend the whole day there.
Absolutely.
All right.
And
Because
we
there's
welcome-
enough to do,
Yes,
food, drinks, no need to go home. So
That's
get
correct.
there at 8 and make sure we stay till the end and enjoy the concert as well.
That's correct.
Well, we'll come back and visit a little more about that, okay? Because I know our audience will want to hear. Now, let's go back to our wings and talk about the air show, Wings
Okay.
over South Texas. They do some maneuvers. Can you talk about those? Because people have asked and said, make sure you ask about those maneuvers. How do they practice? How do they get them down so flawlessly?
So they do practices, right now they're in El Centro, California at a Naval Air Station down there. And the intent is that they spend about 3 months preparing for the season. So once the new team was established in the mid-November of last year, they began practicing, doing small practices for their part of the show, not bringing everything together.
Right.
Once they get to El Centro, they're practicing over the desert 3 times a day, Monday through Friday, and then twice on Saturday. So they do this show every single day except Sunday. And they get a chance to, as they do the repetition, it just builds so that they become experts at what they're doing. So you've got experienced pilots already, and very talented pilots. You put them in an environment where that's all they focus on is this training, and eventually they get very, very good at it. So by the end of March, we're rolling into the show season, and they're ready to begin their shows. The shows themselves, it's about 45 to 50 minutes, and as Captain Banta described, it starts off with the C-130 taking off, and it does a couple flybys. Very impressive, large airplane. It's neat to see it, especially that low to the ground. It gets your attention. And then the Blue Angels do their takeoff, and the Diamond, the 4-plane, will take off together, and then the 2 opposing solos will take off, and they'll start the show. And it is just absolutely phenomenal. The range and altitude from 15 feet off of the ground up to about 15,000 feet. and at airspeeds from about 100 miles an hour up to about 700 miles an hour. And quite often, as they're flying in formation, they're about 18 inches apart, which is just incredible when you think of flying at those speeds and being that close together. But it's all about precision flying, and that's what they're demonstrating.
It's excellence in action.
It is indeed. Yeah.
You mentioned they're experienced pilots. So tell us about that, because I know some of our listening audience would probably think, I'd like to be a Blue Angel. So how does one get to be a Blue Angel pilot?
Well, to start with, and as we both described, you have to come in with a college education to be an officer. So with that, and it's a competitive process all the way up through. So having completed some type of commissioning program, Captain Banta went through the Naval Academy. I went through an officer candidate school program. Once you've got commissioned, then you compete for flight school slots, and there's a limited number of starts that we have each year for new student naval aviators. You come in, and once you've started flight school, now it's competing for the types of airplanes you want to fly. And then at the end of that competition, you go out, you get your wings, and you'll go to a fleet squadron. You'll learn to fly a fleet squadron aircraft, something in gray. In my case, it was F-14s, and then for Blue Angels, it would be F-18s. So they have to fly a tactical aircraft and then get some experience, that being about 1,250 hours, and that's our minimum. And so once they've got that experience, they can apply, and each year we select a limited number of people to join the team. So it's competitive throughout the entire process, but we're looking to try to get those that have the most experience and those that will be good ambassadors for the Navy and the Marine Corps.
Well, like you said, because basically it's the best of the best. It's coming to the cities and showing that, but at the same time being ambassadors of goodwill.
That's right.
Captain Banta, I want to read a quote to you.
Okay.
Okay. You were quoted in the Corpus Christi Colored Times on December 15. And the reason I did that, because I was very impressed when I read the quote. And it reads as follows. We view our air show as an air station and community event, celebrating not only NAS-Corpus Christi role in training Navy aviators, but also the unmatched support the Corpus Christi community provides us. Elaborate on that quote for me.
Okay, well, I absolutely believe that, and that quote right there is really kind of the crux of the way that I view this job. Okay, so this base belongs to the people, and the military belongs to the people. That's the way this government is run, and that's the right way to do it. And the least that we can do with all of the great support that this community provides us, the least we can do is open the gates for a couple days and let them see what we have. And that's really what the air show is. The air show is a way for the United States military, the U.S. Navy, Naval Air Station Corpus Christi, to give back to the Corpus Christi community. I said I'd been in the Navy for about 23 years. I've been all over. I've been in many air stations. I've been in many areas of the country. And the community support in this area is second to none. I have not seen this kind of support anywhere else I've been. There's some are good, but this by far takes the champion. And everything is bigger and better in Texas. The support for the community is that way too. And so this really is our way to be able to give back. And that's what the air show is all about. We're here to serve the community, and the air show is a way for us to give them something for that. And in conjunction with that, as one example, this air show, the Wings Over South Texas Air Show, is the beginning of the celebration here at the base for our 75th anniversary. So 1940, we started construction. 1941, March 12, 1941, this base was commissioned. And so starting now at this air show, and for the next year, we will be having activities on the base, some off the base, and culminating in March of 2016 with the 75th anniversary. So this is the 75th anniversary air show. And it's a really big deal that this goes well and that we're able to show the community what this is all about. And the great thing about it is also, it's the 100th anniversary of the Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. And so the fact that these two anniversaries coincide in this way, two very big deal anniversaries, is something that we're very proud of, the Chamber's very proud of, and it just kind of it really exemplifies the community involvement and the partnership between the military and the community here in this area. We're looking forward to that.
You know, it's interesting to hear, and I need to follow up with a question. Why is it important that we celebrate 75 years?
Well, we real historically make a big deal about every 25 years. So 25, 50, 75, 100 years is kind of the, for us, every year is a big deal. So last year, 74 was a big deal. But when the round numbers come around, when every 25 years or so, historically we have made a big deal about that. And a lot of, for example, this year is the 100th anniversary of the Navy Reserve.
Right.
A lot of activities going on around the city to commemorate that. And so the 50, the 75, the 100-year marks have always been good milestones. And the fact that they coincide, with the base and the Chamber of Commerce in that way, it was just something we couldn't pass up.
And it just speaks about longevity, and that's so important.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that would preclude the Blue Angels from not performing?
Well, some type of natural disaster might be, but yeah, there's, we are always concerned about safety. Mm-hmm. So, if somebody says, what's your biggest concern about,
right.
The Blue Angels and doing their demonstrations? They 36 show sites every year, so I'm always interested in getting updates. And their CO, their commanding officer, Boss Frosch, he's a great communicator, and he reaches out to me, lets me know, hey, boss, we made it home. All 7 jets are back where they need to be. Fat Albert's on its way, that type of thing. So it's always good to have that warm feeling that everybody's back where they need to be. But yeah, there's things that can impact the shows, and typically, if there's a single challenge we have to work around, it's weather.
And that's where I was going.
I kind of figured so.
Yeah.
So.
And the reason is because I know we're all excited and we want to see it,
Mm-hmm.
but I want our community to understand that if it doesn't happen, it could be because there are weather restrictions on this.
There are, but we also have alternative things we can do.
Okay.
So we don't have just one show. So if there's a cloud layer that prohibits them from doing what we would call the high show, which takes them up to 15,000 feet, then we'll try and work below that layer. So they have to be able to see the ground during the show. That's a requirement. They're looking for visual references on the ground so that they can make all the maneuvers reach the approach points they need to be. So when the crowd is looking out and they're looking at show center, they expect 2 airplanes to cross right at show center.
Right.
Well, if they can't see the ground prior to setting up for this, then it's going to be hard to make that work. So they've got to have good weather or good enough weather to see the ground. So they have 2 different shows they can do. They can do a full high show if we have real good weather, and if there's some limitations, if we've got some cloud layers, then we'll work below that with a low show. But either way, it's a great show. If the weather is bad enough that we can't do the air show, then chances are weather's going to be bad enough and nobody's going to want to be out in it anyway. So.
That's exactly what I was thinking at that point in time. So basically, though, you've got 2 air shows that possibly could occur,
mm-hmm.
and nothing would deter it unless it's just absolutely horrendous. Right?
That's correct.
All right. And I know you interweaved this particular answer, but I want to ask it directly because how are the jets transported? How do they get here? Do they fly them?
They do. So all 7 are flown here by the pilots that will actually fly them in the demonstration, or the number 7 pilot is actually the announcer. So he will be flying his aircraft here as well. Then the C-130 pilot, or crew I should say, they fly the rest of the maintainers and administrative support that are part of the team to the show sites.
Well, that has a segue to the question, and that's the team. So how many people are part of the team? Because you just don't have the pilots that come, right?
Correct. So we have, like I said, 16 officers and 115 enlisted sailors and Marines. And of those, typically about 90%, 85 to 90% will show up at each one of our shows. The rest of them will remain back. We have aircraft that are still back in Pensacola, so if they take 7 F-18s with them for a show site, then they'll typically have 3, maybe 4 that are still back in Pensacola. They'll continue to do maintenance on them back there, and there's some other requirements that they have to do to keep the squadron going. So not everybody shows up at every single one of the shows, and we can't fit them all in the aircraft anyway, so that's good. We have to have some mix, and they rotate to make sure we get the right people at each one of the shows.
Well, I think it's important for those of us who have watched this that we see the pilots, but it takes more than the pilots to maintain the aircraft, and that you bring the team with them to do that, plus the public relations person that you talked about. So it's an entire group working together that makes this show.
It is, and that's why they call them a team. It's the Navy Flight Demonstration Team. So this unit, this organization operates as a team. And you'll see that as they do the air show. When they start the airplanes up, when they shut them down, there are maintainers that are running all over those airplanes to make sure it happens right.
Captain Banta, got to go back because I got to talk about those activities.
Okay.
I know I'm getting excited, but I've got to make sure our public is excited. So 2 days free.
Yes.
Concert.
Yes. Saturday evening.
All right. Food, what kind?
Well, I'm not sure. It's typical vendor kind of food. We have a contracted vendor that provides all the food and beverages. We have vendors that sell different trinkets and T-shirts. And I mean, if you're into collecting hats that say Blue Angels and things like that, all that kind of stuff is available.
Good.
So you can't bring your own food and drink into the activity.
Great.
But I'll tell you, if you want to know what you can bring and what you can't bring, I won't even do it justice by reciting it all here, but I'll tell you where you can find it. And you go to the website. So there's a website, it's wingsoversouth-texas.com. Google that, or get on Facebook and look up Wings Over South Texas on Facebook. And also we have a Facebook site for NAS-Corpus Christi, and fourth is specifically for the air show. We have a hashtag set up through Twitter, which is hashtag CC Air Show for Corpus Christi Air Show. So hashtag CC Air Show and all the other sites I just mentioned. If you want any information, go to those sites and everything will be there.
Okay, one last final question and really fast. What recommendation do you have to our young people that are listening? What should they do if they want to become an admiral, a captain, or a Blue Angel pilot?
Yeah, I always say begin with the end in mind. What's your goal? And then figure out how you need to get there. And if it's to be a Blue Angel, then study hard in school, compete well, go to flight school, and you'll find yourself on your way to good things.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. And in theme with education number one that you have here, stay in school and work hard at it, because hard work pays off. And that's really what it comes down to.
Well, we could continue talking 30 more minutes.
Absolutely.
I truly have enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Do appreciate both of you. Admiral Kelley, Captain Banta, for being here today.
Thanks, Dr. Garza. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, this has been Education Number One. Remember, the Blue Angels will be with us April 18th and 19th. At the end of this show, you will see the web address as well as an email address where you can ask questions. This has been Dr. Mary Jane Garza for Education Number One Priority.